So I've got a question here about when I'll be quitting. So Odds Hunter on Twitter asks, serious question, Caan, how many years off your life do you reckon each successful trading year takes? Intensity, crazy hours, feels each year counts multiples in both positive money and negative body and mind. You said only 33, quit point planned. So it's an interesting question there, a bit different to normal, quite serious. There's a few points to that question which I want to sort of address individually now, so I thought we'd do it in a Q&A. The first one being intensity and it taking time off of your life. I'm not going to lie to you, trading's certainly intense. It's been intense for me as I've learned over time. There's been a lot of squeaky bum moments on the edge of the chair, mistakes made, it's been costly, and it has worn me out at points. No doubt that has happened. How much time it shaved off of my life, I have no idea. Although I think it's a question of comparison, in comparison to what the other options were and what the other options were for me. Now it's mentioned I'm 33 there as well. I know I don't look older. I've had a bit of a tricky time in the past, but when I compare it to things like the army, I don't see it as that much of an issue. And typically one thing that I have learned over time in terms of trading and probably even life in general is stress often comes from not knowing what you're doing, or well, maybe not just not knowing what you're doing, but when you do know, not actually acting accordingly on what you know. So I'll admit that at stages I've been wrong, I've made mistakes, I've sat up long hours, I've invested time into the wrong areas, I've gone the long way round, all that kind of stuff, and it has worn me out. Although at this stage I don't feel as though it's that intense anymore, and yeah, we'll come on to the crazy hours and stuff in a moment. But in terms of if you want to reduce intensity, right, which is where the value is for you as a viewer in this video, if you want to reduce the intensity, I really feel that you should invest your time in learning and develop sort of a bias in learning over doing and looking. And it's great to build up screen time and look at the screen and the flashing numbers and all that sort of stuff. But if you're looking at it and trying to trade it and you don't know what you're looking at, you're just going to stress yourself out, and therefore you are going to make it more intense, and it is going to become more of a problem. So we're talking about efficiency there, really, I guess. But if I was to go back to my younger self, I would say invest more time on learning and less time on ogling at the screen without really knowing what's going on, or guesswork, because that's where the intensity and the stress comes from. So half the joy of trading, to be honest, half the joy of trading is the fact that it's scalable. So when everybody gets involved in trading, I've got no doubt half the reason they get involved is because when you actually learn about something, you then have the ability to scale it up afterwards, okay, and make a load of money from it. And therefore, there's more payoff and more reward than there was for that initial period of intensity. What you shouldn't be doing is sitting at the screen for long periods of time, not knowing what you're doing, getting stressed out, feeling very intense about it, and ultimately shortening your life, as you say in the question there, Odds Hunter. So I think that's a very important point to make. But the joy of trading is to actually be quite intelligent about it, take the short path, and being in the position of success that I am, and having done so well with Betfair, I don't feel as though it's that intense anymore. That's a thing of the past for me. So intensity cracked. Okay, next point, crazy hours. Right now, this one I was really quite confused about this when I first thought about it, because I don't work crazy hours. And I think there's some misconceptions out there online sometimes, particularly people trying to sell software and stuff like that, trading every sport and every event and all that kind of stuff. But the joy of trading, like on the flip side of the scalability thing there, is you get to be your own boss, and therefore you don't have to work long hours. And if you want to do the bright thing and and get the most value in the minimum time, then you shouldn't be working long hours. And if you're trading horse racing in particular, for example, if the racing's on from 2 in the afternoon till 5:30 early evening, that's 3.5 hours. You don't need to be working a 12-hour shift of staring at flashing numbers, squeezing out 30p every trade. It's got to start somewhere, but hopefully you see what I mean there. Crazy hours is a non-thing. So crazy hours, if I do work crazy hours, the crazy hours part is not the actual trading part. The actual trading part is just a few hours a day, okay? Like I said, invest the time in learning and beforehand, and then the small hours follow, and that's where the maximum profit comes from. So don't believe the noise, and I don't think that anybody should be working crazy hours, excluding investing some early time into learning. When I compare it to the army, going back to my initial snap answer, it's like, you know, when I was in the army, I was away for 6 months at a time, and I was working all day, every day. And sometimes I was out and about on the ground and stuff for 15 hours in the beating heat, and that is stressful, and that shortens your life, and that is a lot more dangerous versus what? Getting ready in the morning, trading for 3 hours. Some flashing numbers, you know, it doesn't even compare for me. So that's why I'm quite comfortable in the answer with this. And also, you know, when you factor in the money to it as well, obviously I make about 10 times more than I used to in the army. So it's a no-brainer. Crazy hours, intensity, not really issues for me at this stage. It's not something I worry about. I tend to think that if you're feeling really stressed about it, you're doing something a bit wrong, or, you know, pushing the boundaries to the next stage, which, you know, it depends how far you want to take it, really. So the last part was 33, wasn't it? So you said you're only 33, quit point planned. I don't have a quit point planned. So in this journey of trading, I've learned a lot about myself as well. And, you know, I do have certain targets and certain goals. One of those would be to be in a position at 35 whereby, you know, I could fully retire and live a very comfortable life and have all the nice things that I want and not have to work any longer. Although, to be honest, that's a bit of one of those non-goals. It exists, it's something there, but I couldn't switch off. The one thing I've learned about myself is I couldn't switch off, and I'd always be thinking, and I'd always want to do something anyway. Ultimately, sounds cliche, I don't see all this as work, you know. I'm not getting forced to get up at 7 in the morning and then, you know, like I said, the army, all that kind of stuff. So I'll probably invest in other areas. I've already started investing financially in other areas. You've seen probably, well, some people have seen on the site, there's been a lot of developments recently. So there's been extra videos added to the video pack. The quality of the videos has been increased. There's more step-by-step progression. The community is now quite busy. People are talking to each other, the private community on there. So investing in other things like the website, Profit Rush, the new product, obviously family, all that kind of stuff. So I will always be busy. I won't switch off, and so I don't ever see myself quitting, period. Although, you know, if you were to ask me in 10 years time, do you see yourself doing as much as you are now? Probably not. No, I'd like to sort of wind it down a little bit, but, you know, ultimately I can't switch off, and I don't think that I will ever quit. No, so there's no plans to quit, and I'm not too worried about it shortening my lifespan because it's not that stressful for me.